Welcome to the AlmaFlow podcast. Alma means soul in Portuguese, and this podcast is part of a growing movement where I connect with people who have inspired me in some way, people that I admire, to explore a more human side of life beyond what we see online. My name is Paola Aeli. I'm a yoga teacher and a mentor in spirituality and well-being. Before I begin, I just want to invite you into something deeper than a retreat. So this July, from the 23rd to the 28th, I will be hosting an immersion in Paraty, Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, in the middle of the forest inside an eco village built with intention, community, and spiritual roots. So this is not just about yoga. It's for those moments when you feel a little disconnected from yourself, from your body, from what really matters. So it's a space to slow down, reset, and reconnect, not only through yoga and spirituality, but through culture, history, and ancestry. We will be connecting with the land, the ocean, and also visiting an indigenous community here. We're remembering parts of ourselves that often get lost in the modern life. It's a bilingual experience open to people from anywhere in the world. And if it's something in you feels called, that's usually the sign. So send me a message. And today, of course, I'm very like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I have the honor of sitting down with someone who honestly needs no introduction, at least for myself, but I still give one. Today, I'm here with Hannah Heller. Hannah lives off grid on her homestead in Hawaii, where she's building a life rooted in nature, self sufficiency, and intention. She's a yoga teacher, writer, and creator who has spent over a decade sharing her work online, evolving from a global yoga presence into someone now exploring a more grounded and reflective way of living. So, through her writing, retreats, and online platforms, she offers a perspective of life that blends spirituality, independence, and real human experience. That's why I appreciate her life so much. And Hannah, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thanks, Paula. That was a beautiful intro. Thank you.
How did you feel listening to my intro? How did you feel listening about your story in a minute?
I mean, I think you nailed it. I was like, wow, she's still going. No, it's beautiful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. So, I followed you for many years, and social. I think when social media was still very, let's say, dry or raw. And one thing I've always felt is how much you allowed yourself to evolve, and I think that's something rare. To expose the vulnerability, and I would love to start from there. How was your relationship with spirituality? How that began?
I want to get really clear on the question, Paula. You're asking, how did spirituality help shape who I've become? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
I guess a bit. I would say that I have pretty progressive and liberal parents that introduced me to not spirituality in a unrooted or woo-woo way, but in a logical approach to life that was I was very lucky to have concreted into my soul early. So I started practicing yoga when I was 16 years old, 15 or 16 years old, very early, and was already kind of dipping my toes, if you will, into the water of spirituality when I was really young. I remember carrying Don Miguel Ruiz, the Four Agreements, who I believe is Brazilian as well, in my hand embroidered purse when I was 15 years old, and reading it like it was the Bible. I just thought that was like really, really amazing work. So it's telling now for me to look back 23 years ago to think like I was carrying that book around to the point where the cover was falling off and reading that like it was my version of something biblical. So, I just think I was lucky. And I think also that there's a wide world of spirituality, and that things can get skewed rather quickly. So I think when we talk about spirituality, we also need to talk about it in a rooted and logical sense, because I'm not an air sign. I'm not grounded. I'm a very logical person. And a lot of it comes down to science. And these days, I think we can really directly equate science and spirituality.
Mhm.
With energy, with things that we could point to long before we had science, but now we really do have the science. So I think in that approach, I can talk about spirituality. But when we start to get too far off of the main path, I personally am not so drawn towards that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that spirituality is something that for each person is different, you
Mm.
know. So that's the way you are, and it's
Mhm.
very different than talking about religion, you know. It's like, and I
Yes.
see, for example, now that you're having a deep connection with nature. I don't know if you had the same connection in the past, but especially now. So I think it's very easy to see how the nature works and see that it's very like raw and real, and that's the real spirituality, you know, the time that you have to really accept the changes and adapt and be resilient. So that's why I was very curious about that, because maybe before was just, you know, like the yoga, the body thing, because I think the body is very spiritual, the body work that we do.
Mm.
um, you know, the way you breathe, the way you really control your mind, let's say, you know, with your breath, and or just balance the way you think about things. And maybe now was going through a transformation, you know.
Mm. Yes, I like the way you connected it back to the earth, and I think that's really speaking of signs and an earth sign. I'm an earth sign, so it makes so much sense to come into this grounded spot. And as I told you before, when we were still in the preview, I was living in Floripa at the time, and I was a woofer. I was working on organic farms, so I never
Oh,
had my own property. I never had a piece of land that I was really the sole participant of on the land, but I was working with the land for a long time, at least intermittently throughout my time living abroad.
beautiful. When I'm asking, it's about the transformation that we see online when
Mm-hmm.
we follow you and the things that you share. What are the invisible things that it's more
Oh,
water, airy
the
sign
opposite
instead
of
of a
physical. The opposite of
exactly.
physical. What internal changes have taken place
Exactly.
throughout time? Um,
Mhm.
I think that I personally believe, and this is getting more ethereal to a degree, um, karmically, and I know that this is not always a PC conversation or a PC thought to have, but I think karmically we do have to learn hard lessons in our life in order to integrate those experiences into us, and we call them in as hard as they are. And I think some of my situation has been relatively traumatic, and I still believe to a degree I may have called that in so that I can concrete lessons in my own karmic life and sow those seeds that I needed to for the future. Because, and in that, I can find the gratitude for those lessons, as hard as they were, because I know that now I get to carry on knowing that. And sometimes when we don't learn those lessons, we might have to go through them cyclically over and over and over again. And I think that is really when we get stuck in our samskaras, in our in our patterns, and we're not able to progress and evolve beyond them. And so really when we look at things again, as hard as they may be, and think I wouldn't be who I am right now today if I hadn't gone through all of that. And if we can find gratitude for who we are today, then we're able to say, oh, wow, I'm so glad I went through that, even though that was the worst experience of my life. And it pulls us out of this victimhood where we can sit in for a long time. Some people, I think, sit on this karmically their whole lives and have to potentially in the next life try to evolve again. So then we're like stuck through many lives trying to evolve through the victimhood of like, oh, poor me, all these bad things have happened. But when we're also sitting in that energy, we're calling in more of the same, which is kind of a dangerous and hard place to be, stuck in. So yeah, I
Mhm.
can't advocate enough for just trying to pick yourself up and dust yourself off emotionally, spiritually, energetically, and figuring out what you can do. If you look at a whole puzzle and you think this is way too big and overwhelming to take on all at once, what can you do from the puzzle? Like, what do you have? And then the more you work into that one puzzle piece where you were able to fit one more in, you'll start to find others around it and say, oh, now I know how to do that. I can do this. Okay, now I've got 3 pieces. It's breaking it down. It's working towards goals. Anybody, who's ever had a big goal, a big lofty goal, has had to work on progressions. It's the same thing we do in yoga, asana. It's the same thing. We break something down to the smallest component where we say, I can tackle this much. And then we work with that for as long as we need to until we're able to put another puzzle piece together, right?
Yeah.
The long answer.
No, it's great. It's great. It's great. And speaking of that, about all these things that you say, I can recognize in many traditions wisdoms that we study, right? Like Vedanta, I don't know if it's the same in English, we say, or Kabbalah, all this ancestry wisdom. Are you connected with any ancestral philosophy? I don't know, connection like the yoga. I know that you're very connected to yoga, but you read about Bhagavad Gita, like you're connecting with any books. Like, how is that for you? Because especially now that we have AI with us, and then you can just like, oh, this has happened to me. Like you use as a therapist. Like how is your connection with?
I love that. I love AI as a therapist.
Right.
I should have used it as my therapist.
Not books necessarily, but which line? You're very connected to science, but all these things that you say, it's very spiritual. For example, I study about Kabbalah a lot. So I'm very connected to Kabbalah more than Vedanta. It's Vedanta in English again? I think it's the same.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Sorry.
any like I teach yoga, but I talk about more Kabbalah wisdom than any other yogi wisdom.
I've studied, I think we're talking a little bit more about like lineages, if I kind of resonate or identify with any specific lineage. And I would say ultimately, no. I would say I've studied many different lineages over time. And I think as far as like a guru or mentor goes, especially in more recent years, we've watched many gurus and mentors be dethroned, if you will. And anybody who is in a position of power most of the time abuses that power because they have too many resources. And so not as a way of saying, this is my God, this is who I look up to. I love to take in information and mull it over and see how I feel about it. I think some people say really good things that resonate. I take all of it with a grain of salt. And I don't think a lot of it has necessarily like been so. I mentioned Don Miguel Ruiz. There's other books, the Bhagavad Gita, of course. There's great tools out there and great words. I was listening to some of Ram Dass, who lived one street away from me until 2019, and I've been to his house. I think he's a great man that has a lot of great things to say. None of them I would start dressing in all purple for I think people are brilliant. I think there's lots of brilliant people in the world. I don't strictly follow anybody, and that's intentional because I really like to take parts of what I see, feel, read, take in, and form my own opinions and judgments and teachings, and take that out into the world.
Yeah, I understand. It's the same. Like, okay, I like the Kabbalah wisdom, but I don't follow one teacher or one guru. I like the books. I like what is written in the books and just learn and just filter what really resonates also with me. So I understand what you're saying. How do you relate to the idea of God nowadays?
Yeah, I would say I have a strong connection to God, actually, and I don't have any aversion. I was mostly raised atheist, and I would say that I don't have any aversion to like the big God. I actually find religion pretty fascinating. I like to read about them and look into them. I think that God is personal. It's for all of us to decipher and decide how we want to put God into our lives and whether we call it that or not, and all of those things. So I would say I personally have a close relationship to God, and I just was reaching out to a sister friend the other day and talking to her, and we were talking, and God came up in the conversation and brought goosebumps and tears almost instantly, because I think when you have a connection to something deeply, that's kind of what conjures what comes up for you when it's mentioned, that something stronger beyond ourselves, that connection to earth, ourselves, the planet, our people, that connectivity.
Yeah, how is that? Speaking of spirituality and relationship with God and nature, in Hawaii, is it different from the other places that you lived?
Um, yeah, I would say the connection has been built over a longer period of time than anywhere else I've ever spent continuously in the world. So my connection runs pretty deep at this point. The reverence is here, and so I would say yes, and I would say also, looking back, I would have felt the same way at the time. It's only in hindsight that I have the wisdom now to say, well, now I have that strong connection built with this place geographically, but other places would have conjured that same sentiment in me at the time that I was sharing space in that environment.
Because when I see things about Hawaii, I don't know exactly the city that you live, but people around there, they're very. It feels like they're very connected to nature and God. Like I don't know, Ho'oponopono, wisdom,
Yeah.
and portals there. I see, for example, there is a girl in Brazil. I think she lives in Australia. I forgot her name, but she does a lot of expeditions and take people to Hawaii, to portals there. See that the energy there is very strong and beautiful. It's a healing. There's like a healing portals there.
Many, the heart chakra of the world.
So, how's your daily life building, living off grid? I saw you're online, like driving yesterday, I think, like in the middle of the nature. Things are coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really kind of your last question, and this question kind of hit on the same note, because if you move somewhere that's as isolated as this island chain really is, you have to really want to be here, because you'll realize very quickly that if you're traveling, you're adding an extra 5-6 hours onto any trip where you're going. And my perspective on that has really shifted, because I say, oh yeah, it was only 5 hours to get here. And they're like, 5 hours? Because you fly across the entire continental United States in less than 5 hours. So their perspective is much more slimmed down. But you do have to really want it for numerous reasons, because I would say that it's a challenging place. And that's kind of what we say around here is, it either chews you up and spits you out, or it opens its arms and accepts you, the Aina, the land. And that's really because we are small. We are a small town feeling. We are just nature. We have, 3 restaurants. I'm being facetious, but not a lot of places to go and eat. If you want to eat after 8 p.m., there are no options. There are no big box stores here. Okay, a couple, again, being facetious, but for the most part, if you come from the mainland, I know you're in the jungles of Brazil, so you're similar to something like where I'm living, but a lot of people, when they live in cities, have a hard time moving somewhere remote. We don't get Amazon delivery in hours, and we can't order Grubhub and Instacart, and all of those modern conveniences are things that, truthfully, when I go to cities, I love them. I'm like, Uber and Lyft, I can take a taxi, like this is amazing. But when I'm out here, I love that I have to drive up the road to take my trash out, and that I have to get my mail and go to my post office, and that I have to go to my little grocery store and talk to the lady that's a teller at the grocery store, because those human encounters that we get on the daily make so much difference in our overall happiness. And when you go to the city, you really don't have to see or talk to anyone. You can have them drop the food at the door and they don't even knock or anything. You just open the door and then it's there. It's like this no contact, which I always find so interesting, because I'm like, wow, like I was in the city recently and someone, I think they door dashed a bow tie for an event to the event. It's like the most city thing that you could do. I mean, it's awesome. It's amazing. Those modern conveniences have simplified our lives so much, but I think the ask is, what are they simplifying the life for? Are you simplifying your life so that you can answer more emails, be on screens more, work more? Are those things you want to be doing anyway? Because how fulfilling is it to go pick out our own food and pick out our own produce and make our own meals and know what's in it? And those kinds of things are just disappearing in the modern world. And I think that the cost is pretty high. I don't know if
Yeah.
I fully answered your question or went on a tangent of my own there, but
no, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because we also don't have a lot of time to, to be profound in so questions and subjects. But it's nice that you're saying that, because I also see, I don't know, I lived in LA for a while, and I see that they're trying to do that, like famous people, I don't know, they have this beautiful garden in their houses, and they just do, like, the video, like, I'm coming here, I'm going to do an apple pie, so there's a apple tree in my house, and I'm doing this. And it's not going to be available for everybody in Los Angeles, in LA, definitely not. Maybe it's going to be also very expensive. I think, because you're building your place. It's challenging, and it's expensive, and especially if you're in an island, it's not very I don't know the word even in Portuguese
conducive for imports. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, I see this in Ubatuba here. Like, it's happening, this surf, amazing global, but they're closing the streets. There's no place for everybody there in Ubatuba right now. So it's very interesting how the life is going. And I think it's very smart and wise that you're there, that you have a place for you. And I'm really happy that you're a person that really goes I don't know, you show that it's a different direction. You're always in the like, guys, let's look for this direction too. And it's very influential, and it's beautiful to follow you. And I just want to know, to end up this call, about what is nourishing your soul right now.
Yeah, I think that's probably an easy guess. The land, the property, working on my project and doing a lot of it very hands-on. A lot of people say, well, why don't you, hire people to do things? And it's kind of the same argument as convenience for me. I don't necessarily want to not know how to use my own tools, or I don't want to spend my time answering emails and being on screens. I'll hire someone in the Philippines to do that for me. I'll pay them happily, and I'll be outside in connection with the land and the earth and doing things that are hard, but also that I want to know how to do. I want to know how to work on my machines and fix them and operate them and take care of this land and do more and learn more. And then one day when I'm on to bigger projects, I'll be able to hire people, but I'll be able to educate them on how to do the job properly in the right way and maintain the tools in the right way, because it's important for all of these things to be done well, and to take pride in the work that you do, and to know how to do things, in my opinion, that just lead to so much empowerment. Especially for us women, I think.
Yeah. And also, if you're building a business, you need to know everything that you do. So why in our personal life we're going to do in a different way, right? So it's I understand where it comes from. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. It was really cool. So maybe in the future you're going to build up an ashram for us, so your students can come to visit you in Hawaii after
Fingers
your
crossed.
play. You do your retreats, all the things there where you are. So of course you love traveling, but it would be very beautiful to have a chance to take people and just, like, I don't know, visit in a ashram place. Yeah, right?
It would.
Well, so for all of you that were here in this beautiful episode, thank you so much. Don't forget to comment, to like, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thanks, Paula.
Thank you. Bye.